I'd like to take a few moments and share with you the process by which we at Franklin Covey implement the 4 disciplines of execution. Now, the easiest way to understand this process is to start by contrasting it with a traditional training approach. If you think about a training class, the responsibility for implementing all of the powerful ideas shared in that class rests solely with the participant. And at Franklin Covey, by virtue of being one of the world's leading training organizations, it was only natural that we would try this approach in the beginning. But as we began to learn through our experience with leaders and teams over the last few years, we realized there was a far more effective way of implementing these disciplines. Our process today begins with an intensive session where we meet with the most senior leaders in an organization and we decide together what will be the wildly important goals on which we will focus all of the power and all of the effectiveness of the 4 disciplines process. We also utilize that initial planning day to train an individual in an organization who will be the internal knowledge resource called the 4 disciplines coach. And armed with the value of this planning and armed with the knowledge in these newly installed coaches, we then conduct a 3-day intensive event with all of the leaders in the organization. Now, during this event, we begin with training. We share with them the 4 disciplines of execution, and we illustrate their application by examining case studies of leading organizations that have implemented them, by working our way through real-life examples, and by watching video documentaries of other teams applying the 4 disciplines. Once that training process is complete, the leaders in our session are ready to begin their own application of Discipline 1. So with the clear direction having already been established of the overall wildly important goal, each leader then works to decide what the wildly important goal for their team will be. And that goal aligns with the goal that has been set for the entire organization. Now that every leader understands the primary focus they will have in implementing the 4 disciplines, they go on to identify those highly leveraged behaviors or outcomes that we call lead measures. And by having this focus, and by virtue of the leverage that this focus gives us, they are able to apply Discipline 2 to the activity their team will be doing as we implement the 4 disciplines. Once we have a wildly important goal and a set of lead measures, we are ready to teach these leaders how to design a very unusual scoreboard. It's one we call a player scoreboard, and it is dramatically different than anything the leaders have typically ever done, because its focus and its reason for existing is to motivate the players to win the game, not to show the leaders all of the moving components of the strategy. The next thing all of the leaders learn during this 3-day intensive is how to conduct a cadence of accountability. In this Discipline 4 meeting, we illustrate one of the most powerful of all the 4 disciplines and the process by which each leader and each team will guarantee that they make steady and regular progress toward the achievement of a goal, no matter what the whirlwind of urgent activities is that's swirling all around them. This 3-day event concludes with perhaps the most important part, a section by which we empower and enable every single leader who's been a part of the program to be ready to introduce the 4 disciplines to their teams. You see, in this particular approach, we've learned 3 things that make it the most powerful way of ensuring that the disciplines actually take hold. Because they are implemented by the leader has the greatest credibility with the team, and therefore the message itself carries the greatest impact. We also know that by virtue of having the leader know from the beginning of the 3-day session that they will be the ones to implement it with their team rather than a representative from Franklin Covey, the leaders learn the process in a much deeper way. And finally, and actually most importantly, because the leader is the one implementing the 4 disciplines, they are fully engaged not only in the implementation, but in the continued application of the disciplines toward achieving their wildly important goal. And at the end of this 3-day session, every single leader is accountable to conduct this launch meeting in the way in which they've learned to do it. And they utilize tools and resources from Franklin Covey to help them have the most powerful and effective meeting they are capable of conducting. But once those launch meetings are finished, there's another step in our process one that we think of as a quality assurance step and also course correction wherever it's needed. We gather all of those leaders back together, we review the status of their implementation, we take a look at their scoreboards, we coach them on how to make the scoreboards better, and we answer questions that have predictably come up when the leaders are in the process of implementing rather than sitting in the classroom learning. This is a powerful day that we call a launch review. And at the conclusion of that launch review, every leader and every team is ready to begin the journey that may take from 6 months to an entire year to achieve their goal. Over the months that follow, every leader and team progresses through several different stages of adoption of the process and the production of higher and higher results. And in every one of those months, we hope their focus is always on what we call a summit meeting. A summit meeting that in the best case is never more than 90 days away. A meeting where every leader will once again stand with their peers and will talk about all that they've been able to achieve as well as everything that they have learned. And they will share best practices as well as the accountability for the production of results. So throughout all of those months, every leader's focus is on this summit meeting, which is coming again and again and again up until the moment when the summit meeting includes the celebration and the recognition of having achieved a goal that was declared wildly important. So throughout this entire process, every leader and their team not only achieve their wildly important goal, but they also install a set of disciplines that will ensure that as a leader and as a team, they will be able to execute at this level again and again and again. And in the years that follow, they may focus the 4 disciplines on a different goal, but the process of achieving it will remain the same. And in this way, every leader can look back on the 4 disciplines of implementation and know that they have not only achieved a goal, but they've actually raised the ability of their own team to execute and to sustain the results that have been achieved.